We stand at a critical moment in Earth's history, a time when humanity must choose its future. As the world becomes increasingly interdependent and fragile, the future at once holds great peril and great promise. To move forward, we must recognize that in the midst of a magnificent diversity of cultures and life forms, we are one human family and one Earth community with a common destiny. We must join together to bring forth a sustainable global society founded on respect for nature, universal human rights, economic justice, and a culture of peace. If you think this sounds familiar, you're right. It's from the preamble to the Earth Charter, the document commissioned by the UN to be a declaration of fundamental principles for building a just, sustainable, and peaceful global society in the 21st century. Healthy children, potable water, a decline in the number of life-threatening diseases, appropriate sanitation systems, trained and active community personnel, local and lasting employment opportunities, public health systems. These are a few of the results of the work of Concern America, all designed to empower local people in economically poor countries to lift themselves out of poverty permanently. In a way, the work of Concern America is like an effort to implement the Earth Charter. Today, I'd like to show you how you can become actively involved in the lives of countless impoverished Guatemalans by introducing you to Concern America. Concern America is a nonprofit, non-governmental development and refugee aid organization. What does this all mean? It means that the organization was created without a political or sectarian agenda to work hand in hand with people living in impoverished regions of developing countries. Since it began in 1972, Concern America has staffed development projects in more than a dozen developing countries, among them El Salvador, Mexico, Mozambique, Honduras, and Sierra Leone. The last 31 years are a testimony to the numerous lasting improvements that Concern America has effected in several rural communities, from a steady decline in the number of life-threatening diseases and appropriate sanitation to the training of active community leaders. The indigenous peoples of Guatemala seldom receive health care due to lack of money, discrimination, remoteness from the urban areas, or simply being uninformed. As I indicated, the infant mortality rate is quite high, and many of the children who survive suffer from malnutrition. There's little access to basic services. When so many suffer and are at such a disadvantage, who is there to help? Concern America operates in a completely unique way, one that addresses these health needs by the training of local community members to be health resources, health promoters within their own communities. Health promoters provide health services in remote areas, treating their neighbors for a wide range of life-threatening illnesses from malaria, intestinal parasites, and infections to suturing cuts, treating snake bites, and recognizing serious problems that need to be referred for more advanced care. In addition to their training in health, the promoters receive workshops on other themes related to the broader issues that affect the health and well-being of their communities. Topics include community organization, environmental health, sanitation, project administration, etc. Thus, local people involved in a Concern America project learn to organize their community, speak out on behalf of their neighbors, take collective action, and plan and implement activities and projects. Many of the other development projects flow from the training of health promoters because the health promoters are able to identify the causes of some health problems: lack of access to clean water sources, lack of understanding of hygiene and sanitation, need for safe cooking units, and underemployment, which leaves families without the means to feed their children.
I'm supposed to try to keep track of what happens historically and orient new volunteers and just kind of be here as a permanent presence. Well, we teach the promoters to treat common illnesses with, to diagnose and treat, to recognize and be able to diagnose and treat common illnesses, and to use a limited list of essential medicines to avoid unnecessary expense and dangerous medicines or junk medicines, of which there are a lot. And they actually see most of the sick people. Well, all of us who work here for Concern America try to teach good nutrition. We have programs for weighing babies to see if they're growing well. And we check weights and the general appearance of children in the clinic.
I write down all the weights that we do on a given day, and I give them to Will, who puts them into a database. We have 800 weights collected from all the work that we've done over the last 3 years, and we can use that to analyze the state of nutrition on the people that we're working with. That can often be a factor of, or can often be data that tells us if a community is improving a little bit in their health. This is kind of what a tarjeta de salud de niños, it was a child's health card, looks like. Here we just have some of the statistics of what goes on in the family. And then on this side, this bottom line represents 3% of girls who are malnourished fall below this line. And the rest of the population in the world is above that line. Many of the kids that we weigh fall below that, are in that very small 3%. The second line is for boys. Girls and boys are genetically different. And here, and here we have the 50% line for boys and girls. And so that kind of is how the road to health is defined. We have about 8 scales in the program right now. I have one that I travel around with when I do consulta. Judith has one, and Mrs. Judith's. This community is smaller with only 6 families, and Jose is still really learning how to do it, so he hasn't yet earned his scale yet.
Mi trabajo que tengo es aquí como capacitadora.
My work consists of training midwives, women's health, particularly that of prenatal care and pap smears, as well as consultations, community visits, and extending my assistance to midwives in the event of complications. In the past, the situation of women's health had been very much forgotten, such as with childbirth and pregnancy. We had some training, but it wasn't as it is now, and so there were many deaths of newborn infants. Some mothers died after childbirth because of things we didn't know how to do. The death of mothers and children was widespread, partly due to a lack of vaccinations. No one had ever explained to them the importance of vaccinations and prenatal care.
The main thing that we do is train health promoters. Health promoters are people that are selected by their villages to be trained to provide health care. The villages that we work with are pretty remote. They can be several hours from medical care with a bus that only runs once a day. And so the villagers select one of their own to be trained by us, and that person comes to this facility for training courses that each last a week. And the training courses run the course of 4 years. And then we also go out to the villages and work directly with them one-on-one to help them learn how to take care of patients. So they learn how to take a history, they learn how to use basic exam equipment. We give them stethoscopes and thermometers and otoscopes and blood pressure cuffs, and they learn how to do a really good, complete physical exam, and they learn how to diagnose the basic illnesses, and then how to treat them, and we provide them with medicines as well. So the main goal of our organization is not that we come down from the States and provide medical care, but that we train the people here to provide medical care for each other. The promoters are a wonderful group of people. They're people that they volunteer, so they take time away from other work that they're doing. They're very poor by and large. They're subsistence farm workers, which means they all have their cornfields that they have to go out and work in. So they take a week out of their work in the fields and come here and learn, and nobody pays them. Sometimes they're almost kids. You know, we've had 14 and 15-year-old promoters. We have people with as much as an 8th grade education, probably not more than that, and as little as no education. We've had a few people come in who really wanted to study but couldn't read because they had never gone to school. And we made deals with them that you know, they would learn to read during the first year, repeat the first year, and then go on. I'm a U.S. trained doctor. I could come down here and work for 2 years and, you know, see 30 patients a day or 50 patients a day or however many patients a day I could see, and you know, I'd make a small impact on some people. You know, if I was lucky, I'd save a few lives, and otherwise, I, you know, might create some memories of, oh yeah, there was that nice gringa that helped me out that one time, but once I leave, that effect disappears. And so what we do is we train people who hopefully are going to stay in their villages and continue to provide health care for their communities. So the system grows rather than just being a, you know, a one-time thing. I managed to make it out to a community once every 2 months. When somebody, you know, cuts his leg with a machete, you know, if the American doctor's not there, the American doctor's not there, but the promoter is there, and we've you know, one of our courses is a suture course, and so at this point, all of our people, all of the promoters in the second level know how to sew up machete wounds, which are like the most common accident here. We like to have women promoters because women will tell their problems to other women, and they're very shy about telling their problems to men. So you know, people here have very big families. They have so there's lots of problems with there's lots of obstetrical problems. There's lots of problems with STDs. And then just, you know, I mean, urinary tract infections. A woman campesina is going to have a hard time talking to her male neighbor about her urinary tract infection. So we really encourage there to be more than one, there to be at least one woman in the team, in the village.
The indigenous people of Guatemala have never forgotten that the preservation of their culture is fundamental to keeping themselves alive as a people. For many unfamiliar with urban life, industrial work in the city is not an option. They utilize skills honed and taught by their ancestors. One of the most beautiful of these skills is weaving, which Concern America has supported for many years.
Concern America has been supporting weavers in Guatemala for many years, ever since the early years of the armed conflict, which basically dates back to the early 1980s.
Y más que todo también,
more than anything, this cooperative of weavers is made up not only of locals from the municipality, but also of people from 7 different communities farther away. Some travel as many as 12 kilometers.
All 4 of those groups are primarily composed of widows, widows and to some degree also orphans. Most of the widows, you know, are widows because of the armed conflicts. Their husbands were either disappeared or assassinated during the armed conflict. Some of the widows have remarried or, you know, found a partner with whom they live over the years, but really the majority of them are, you know, they're still alone. And so they're the head of household.
Grupo de Mujeres Maya de Desarrollo Integral.
This group started because in reality, during the time of the armed conflict, there was no way a woman could survive alone with her family. It was only with the work that our parents taught us, the work of weaving, that the organization first started. Because it was the only way a woman could make a small income. It was the only way a woman could survive with her children.
So weaving is basically something that most, or many, I should say, many Guatemalan indigenous women know how to do. It's something that they learn how to do from the time they're 8 or 9 years old. It's an easy way in which women can earn money. Easy in that they already know the skill, not that they earn a very good living from the weavings, but it is a skill that's saleable.
Concern America es el mercado
Concern America
que nos compra
is the
la mayor
group
parte de
that
los
buys the
productos.
majority of our products.
Concern America es lo que nos
Concern
ayuda
America
también,
provides us
con
with a lot of
bastante
work
trabajo
each year
cada año,
because it is the group that buys the most.
compra bastante cada año. Sí, es otra cuestión que quería también
We have
aclarar.
received no
Al respecto
support
de
from the
eso,
government.
nosotros no-
It is only
no
with our
hemos
own
recibido
efforts and
ningún
work,
apoyo del gobierno.
along with the help of
Solamente
organizations
con
like
nuestro
Concern
esfuerzo,
America,
en nuestro
that we
trabajo
receive
y
support.
algunas
They weave on backstrap looms, which is the traditional way of weaving for women in Guatemala. Concern America this year actually funded a floor loom project for these weavers.
soy más que todo la coordinadora de esta organización.
I am the coordinator of this
Quiero
organization, Tejidos Guadalupe.
Más que todo
More than
acerca de
anything,
lo que es
I want to
la
tell you
nueva técnica,
about the new weaving
que es el
technique
telar de
of
pedal.
floor looms. We see that this new technique has helped us greatly. We see a difference in working with floor looms as opposed to backstrap weaving, because the women can now produce more than they did when doing backstrap weaving. For example, a woman can produce only half as much using backstrap weaving. Floor loom weavings help us to improve our production, and it helps the women to generate more income.
Concern America has basically a dual relationship with the weavers. One is in supporting them through projects, and the other is as a client. So Concern America is a client to these 4 weaving groups. Concern America buys crafts from them. Usually, Concern America places one large or possibly one large and one smaller order a year from them. So Concern America has a craft project in the States through which it markets these weavings as well as other handicrafts which are made in other places. As of about 3 years ago, there are no longer volunteers, Concern America volunteers, working with those weaving groups, or the coordination that the 4 groups are a part of called Samahelbats. So we continue to support them. We support the Samahelbats office for administration and office costs.
Access to water, such an important ingredient in all of our lives, is a serious problem for communities in rural Guatemala.
Se hizo varias visitas para ver cómo se encontraba.
Various visits were made to communities, and we could see the need for water because they don't have a source from which to get water except from a few lagoons that we saw were contaminated and dirty.
I am an engineer volunteer working with Concern in the Petén, Guatemala, region of Guatemala, working in the Programa de Salud Ambiental, which is the environmental health component of the work. And that consists of doing the preventive side of the health work. There's different ways to do water supply in Petén. Manually dug wells is one thing that we've supported some communities to dig their own manually dug wells and to line them with concrete. But the only other that we've decided makes the most sense to support has been to collect rainwater. It's a very good, high quality source of water, and it's low maintenance. In the case of Gracias a Dios, they are individual house systems. There's issues that arise when you have a community source of water, especially with rainwater collection, because they do require maintenance, the tanks. So we decided that the best would be to have individual households with their systems, and then, with the idea that they would be better maintained.
When there wasn't water in our community, we would walk a kilometer to fetch it, and the water we would bring would weigh 50 pounds. If there wasn't water in that hole, then we would have to go to the lagoon, and that would practically take half a day. We would have to take food with us and everything, and walk far with the children. But now, we're no longer suffering.
The cost of a rainwater collection system about the size that we have been working here in Gracias a Dios and the other communities is about $650. That includes everything from labor, all of the overhead expenses and material costs, about $650 per house. So, and then of that, 10% is covered by the beneficiary, so about $600 in concern funds. According to the literature, they can last, depending on how well they're maintained, anywhere from 20 to 50 years. Before, they had a poor water supply, and now they have a water supply that falls right on top of their house, and they don't have to go. It's a high-quality water source. They don't have to carry it.
Ellos vienen a preguntar, a dialogar.
First, the team from Concern America comes so that the people can gather and talk about what their necessities are. Electricity is also a need, but not like water, because like the man said, it is life, blood, and everything, the primary life force.
Cooking stoves in the rural areas of Petén are generally little more than open pits, producing large amounts of smoke inside homes and allowing much of the fire's heat to escape, which greatly increases the amount of precious firewood that's used. Many families have constructed raised earthen tables where their stoves sit, using rocks or cement blocks for the stove's sides, but such designs do little to overcome the environmental hazards. To address this situation, fuel-efficient improved stoves are being constructed.
Most women will complain at the end of the day that their eyes burning. I mean, like anyone, if you're in a car or someone's smoking a big cigar or something, your eyes start burning. Well, it's the same, you know, in the kitchen. Big number of women who came with, I don't know how to say it in English, it's called carnosidad, which is a little growth on your eyeball, and it's kind of a fuzzy growth. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. And a lot of people have that, and you can only remove it through surgery. And it causes decreased vision.
Vemos que aquí muchas de las compañeras sufrimos.
Many of the compañeras suffer from the smoke. In the homes, a lot of smoke is trapped. And to improve the health of the compañeras, a new stove design was needed. The smoke gets trapped in the house. If the children are sleeping or playing in the house, then they breathe a lot of smoke.
Casi no. Bueno, antes de tener una estufa, posiblemente, ¿va? Hay peligro mayormente.
There's danger primarily with roofs. One spark can burn the roof. But now with this new form or model, there are no more sparks. If there were sparks, they'd pass through here over there.
Y estoy trabajando acá con Concern America, en beneficio de la salud de las compañeras.
I'm working here with Concern America in making the new stoves to improve the lives of the women. Right now, we're going to start with the mold. I'm removing the bit of cement left over. We're just barely constructing this. It's new. The first day, we poured the cement. The second day, we removed the mold. We have worked in the communities of Gracias a Dios, Las Cruces, in Arbolito, Betania, Esfuerzo, San José Buena Fe, Cruce Dos Aguadas, and in this community of Ramonal, 11 women have the benefit of having improved stoves.
These gentlemen are from the community, which is El Ramonal, and we are having the afternoon chimney making session. So what they're doing is making their chimneys for the stoves out of flat galvanized sheet metal, and it's a very simple process. What you do is the sheet metal comes cut to the length that you see there. This is Don Nacho of the environmental health team, and he is showing one of the gentlemen from the community how to do the last process, which is to take the two fold-overs in each chimney section and just fold them one under the other. The Stoves project is the same as the other environmental health projects in that the project pays all the material and gets it into the community, and then the community has a contribution of 10% of the cost of everything, including transport and labor. Including labor, including transport, materials, everything, about 450 Q textiles, which translates to about $55 per stove per house, and then so there's a contribution of then about $5 or $6 from the beneficiary. So the concern pays about $50 per house.
I just really love the work. It's an exceptional group of people that we work with here. The chance to teach people who are so bright and so willing and eager to learn is wonderful. And I think the promoters like the program because they feel like it's theirs.
What you've just seen and heard should provide you insight into the philosophy of Concern America. It's a philosophy based on the belief that when people commit to building what we all understand to be a civil society, those same people will become agents for positive change in their own communities. The result goes far beyond that. Civility grows into trust, reciprocity, tolerance, inclusion, creative problem solving, and the ability to function cooperatively in the community. Health, weaving, water, and the environment. Part of the world of Concern America. Part of our Earth community. Great reason to hope and a concrete way to realize such hope. As our planet stands at the crossroads of hope and peril, let us also consider this invitation from the Earth Charter. Let ours be a time remembered for the awakening of a new reverence for life, the firm resolve to achieve sustainability, the quickening of the struggle for justice and peace, and the joyful celebration of life.